Hi everybody, Tex-Mex here. Thanks for joining me for another video. Today we're taking a look at a buddy of mine's Colt Peacemaker 22. Now it's a beautiful evening, the sun's going down, I have perfect lighting, the birds are chirping, there's very little wind, which is nice. So I decided I'm going to shoot this intro and then take this pistol out shooting tomorrow. This is a friend of mine's pistol. I'm taking care of it for him now. And it is a great pistol. This isn't the grips that they gave it to me with. They had some wooden grips that were aftermarket that were a little thick for me. So I ended up buying these other grips that kind of look like staghorn. And I really like the look on these single action pistols. That's one thing I switched out. I think the original grips are those black plastic grips. I should have brought them with me to show, but I can either take a picture or find what they look like online and I'll put them up on the screen right now. I've never liked those grips. I have an old Colt Frontier 22 that was, I say I inherited it from my father. He gave it to me when I was a child, but you know, he always kept it with him until after he passed. It was very similar to this one. I think it has a slightly longer barrel. Now this Peacemaker is in 22 long rifle and 22 magnum. This is the G series, and I'll get into that here in a second. But basically of these Peacemaker 22s, because they had the bunt lines, they had the Colt Frontiers all in 22, but of these Peacemakers, they made them in 2-inch, 4.4 inch, 6-inch, and 7.5 inch. And apparently they made a very short run of 4 3/4 inch before they shortened them to the 4.4 inch barrels. And those are really sought after because there was a very short production run, apparently all in around between 1970 and 1971. Now the G series partly means the serial number. The serial number is down here on the bottom and it starts with a G. And one thing about that series was, unlike the older models, and I'll get into this in a second, this is not, or I should say this barrel is not pinned. This one has a steel frame, and based on that, they just basically did steel to steel, so they didn't necessarily feel a need to have to pin this barrel. Grip frame is still some sort of aluminum that's blued, but this frame that's case hardened, it's very pretty, is steel, as obviously is the barrel. So it's just steel on steel, and they just tightened it up. And it came with a 22 long rifle cylinder and a 22 magnum cylinder. These were the ones that were not fluted, so this means it was a little later in the series because the earlier ones were fluted. Now there's a ton of information about the old single action Colt 22s. They started with, okay, so this is the G series. There's the P series, the F series, the Frontier Scout, there's a K series. There's lots of information, and the only information I found was from the Colt forum. There was one post from one member there that's very knowledgeable, and he put a bunch of information. So I'm going to actually link to that post here in my video. If you have one, some sort of Colt 22, and you don't know too much about its history or where it was production wise, you can always go to that link and get some information. And that's a good place to familiarize yourself with the different series of 22 single actions. Now, I've always been a fan of single actions. If you're watching this video and you're not a gun person, you don't know what single action means, I'm going to check to make sure it's empty first, because that's always the smart thing to do. So you open the loading gate, we put this on half cock, and then you can rotate the cylinder and see that there's no ammunition in the cylinder at this time. So this has the old style where it has the safety notch, half cock, yeah, then just a full cock. And to fire this pistol, you have to cock it manually every time you fire it, hence the single action moniker. Now, at one point, there were productions of these that were purely 22 long rifle. There were some that were purely 22 magnum. They stopped that at some point and just made them all dual cylinder. And you can see that in the printing that it just says Peacemaker 22. It doesn't say long rifle or magnum only, anything of that sort. You just have to switch out the cylinders, and it's pretty easy. You just have to take out the cylinder pin here and pull it out and then switch out the cylinder. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm pretty sure YouTube would say that's a no-no and would probably block. I mean, I don't monetize my videos, so I don't care about that. I'm not making any money off of this, but I'd hate for them to yank it down after I put all the effort into making the video. Although it is fun. The whole point is I'm getting to go out and go shooting, but hopefully you're having fun too as you're tagging along with me. So what I want to do is, I had fired this pistol before, and it actually grouped pretty well with CCI standard velocity. I tried a few different 22 long rifles, and I've decided I'd rather shoot 22 magnum out of it, but only if I'm able to get some decent groups at, 10, 15 yards. This is not a gun I'd be shooting past that. I'm hoping it likes the 22 Magnum, but at the end of the day, I'm going to stick with which one it shoots more accurately. And I already know it likes this standard velocity, but I'll shoot maybe one or two other types of 22 long rifle to see how it does. And then I'm going to switch out the cylinder to 22 Magnum, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use some 50 grain Federal. I'm hoping it likes that, because if this thing shot 50 grain well, that would be great. I'll use maybe some 40 grain Winchester Super X that I've always had a lot of luck with in single action pistols. and maybe some CCI. Maybe I'll try the Hornady. What is it? 34 grains, 36 grains, a lighter one. Maybe it likes that. You never know. But anyway, it looks like the sun's going down. I'm looking forward to getting up early in the morning, heading out there and seeing how we do at the range. Okay, here we are the following morning. I apologize, there's a little water on the lens. I'm trying to keep it clean. It's been drizzling on and off this morning, so I'm also surrounded by mosquitoes and flies. It's always fun. I've loaded up some standard velocity 6 rounds. I'm gonna shoot at the target. Like I said, this is one I remember shooting through this pistol that it liked. I am going to rest my hands on this bag as I take these shots because I'm trying to make sure I'm getting the most precise shots as possible. And another thing you can see, I did paint the front sight with a little bit of orange paint. It's something that can easily be cleaned off with some solvent. It just really helps me see that front post and get a better aim at the target. Okay, it seems like I'm hitting way to the left. Oh, and by the way, I didn't say this before. I am shooting at 17 yards. It's a little over 15, not quite at 20. Let me load in 6 more. I'm sort of shocked. I thought this one at around 15 yards was hitting dead on, but I seem to be pulling to the left. I don't think that's me since I'm resting my hands. But let's go ahead and load up another 6 rounds and see if it gets any better. We have 6 more rounds loaded. Let me go ahead and I'll just shoot at the target underneath. Oh, one flew to the right, or the left, excuse me. And that's 6. So we're gonna try is this Winchester Super X. Just something, this is a high velocity compared to the standard velocity of the CCI. So here we go with the Winchester. See if we do any better. They're all shooting a little to the left. These little flies are all around me. Okay, that's 6. Let me load in another 6. One of the things I've been asked by a couple of my subscribers is if I would do a test and check the cylinders themselves to see if some cylinders shoot better than others. That would be a very intensive test. I'd have to probably put some sort of little nail polish on the side of the cylinder or some way to number the cylinders so I know which one's which and see if one particular chamber in the cylinder shoots better than the others. I may do that at some point. Right now, I mean, if I'm carrying this, I don't want to worry about which cylinder, or I don't want to worry about which bullet in the cylinder I'm shooting when I'm shooting it. I want to hope that all 6 would shoot somewhat equally, although I certainly can't confirm that's the case. But let's see. I want to say it looks like the Winchester's doing better. Let's try the target below. Okay, that's 6 rounds. So let's take a look at our target here. I guess the rain's making the cardboard behind here a little soft, so the staple came out. Now I can see why I like the CCI. It made a really great group. There was just one. Is that 5 and 6? Oh, no, I see one up here. So that's probably 4, 5, and 6. Not bad, but far to the left. Down here, a much bigger group. And yeah, they all seem to be drifting left, a few near the center. Compared to the Winchester, it does seem that the CCI is hitting a little bit tighter. The Winchester Super X, which is a higher velocity, 2, 4, 6. So all kind of drifted to the left here, and up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So not great. It's one of the reasons I do like single actions with adjustable sights. I know that sort of takes away from the aesthetic of the single actions, and people like single actions with the standard sights, but this is one of the problems. There's no way to adjust it other than just you knowing where you're hitting and adjusting your sights accordingly when you're pulling the trigger, such as holding it off to the right or higher down or something of that sort. Let's go ahead and move on to this target, and I'm going to try the 22 Magnum cylinder and see if we can tighten those groups up a little bit. And before we start, as I'm being surrounded by these damn gnats that are driving me insane, I want to show the holster. I've had a few subscribers sometimes ask me to show my holsters a little bit more. This is a Camp Curry holster. I want to say I did get this off Etsy, excuse me. He makes really good stuff at a reasonable price, and it's great leather. It's nice and stiff. You have to be careful when buying off Etsy. Look at the reviews. I've seen some holsters out there that are very inexpensive, but they're made out of terrible leather, very soft, not really suitable for holding a firearm in. So I'm surprised that they even sell holsters with leather that poor. This is a great leather here. You can see the stitching's really nice. It's got this pattern on there. So it's a lovely holster. It fits this revolver great. And I got this sucker. I don't remember who I bought this from, but I'd never seen one of these before. And it's basically to hold your extra cylinder. So if you have one of these revolvers with an extra cylinder, you can keep the cylinder in there. It stays nice and secure, and it's got a belt loop in case you want to carry it with you. So just kind of a neat thing there. But we're loaded up. This time I loaded it up with 22 Magnum. We're going to start out with the Winchester Super X. This stuff I kind of grew up on. It was a staple for me. It is a 40 grain jacketed hollow point. I used it all my life in revolvers and in some 22 Magnum rifles. So let's see how it does out of the Colt. Looks like it's shot low. Yeah, it's not grouping very well. Okay, it does not look, once again, it looks like it's shooting left. They all seem to be shooting left. So let me go ahead and load in 6 more, and I'll shoot on the target to the right of it just to see if I can tighten those groups a little bit. 6 more rounds of the Winchester. Okay, what I want to try now is the Federal 50 grain. Curious to see how it functions out of this revolver. I mean, you can really hear the report. It's much louder with the 22 Magnum than the 22 long rifle. Nothing crazy, but certainly noticeable. Now this Federal is a 50 grain hollow point. I've sighted in one of my 22 Magnum lever actions for this particular ammunition. I like the heavier weight. Obviously, it's not going to give you as flat of a trajectory as some of the lighter offerings of 22 Magnum. But if you want something that's going to carry a little more energy to slightly further distances, then this 50 grain, I think, will at least perform a little better than the 40 grain. Although that being said, this 30 grain VMAX does really well out of a lot of my 22 Magnums. So let's see how this one does. Did I even hit the target? Okay, yeah, it looks like it's hitting to the left. All of these ammunitions are hitting to the left. Okie doke, 6 rounds are loaded. Let's see if we can improve that group. Ooh, I think that hit bullseye. If the other 5 hit there, I'll be so excited. That one looks high. Oh, way to the left. Okay, nope. I always get excited when one goes where you want it to go, and then the rest just kind of meander around. But let me, I'm gonna have to readjust my target camera anyway to aim it at the lower targets down there. But let me go ahead and do that so I can try the Hornady 30 grain and see if that does any better out of this revolver. So I've loaded 6 rounds of the 30 grain VMAX Hornady. Let's see if I can keep them all on target. Looks like low and to the left. High and to the left. Okay, that's 6. I'm gonna put in 6 more. Okay, we got 6 rounds loaded. Let's see how we do. That's 6 rounds. I can tell even from this distance that it's not doing very good. So let's go take a look at our target. So I'm not sure how to feel about this. I guess as far as the difference between 22 Magnum and 22 long rifle out of that Colt, it seems the long rifle is grouping better. The groups weren't great. I mean, like I said, 4 here were awesome. Then these 2 make it a horrible group. Not a terrible group here. You have 6 and probably a 3-inch circle here, maybe a little bigger than that. Same over here. Well, no, this one's a little further down. So that's, oh, sorry. This one's a little further down. So that's a bigger group. And then 2, 4, 6. Once again, not terrible, not great, but certainly not hitting where I am aiming. And when it came to the 22 Magnum, that first group with the Winchester wasn't too bad. Although it did hit to the left, it stayed relatively tight, so that wasn't too bad at all. When I shot the second set, it drifted much more to the left and opened up. I mean, you have 1 down here. I'm pretty sure that's from the first group. So 2, 4, and 6. When I switched to the 50 grain, you know, it looked pretty good in the beginning, and maybe I should have left the pistol cool off a little more between shooting sessions, but I assume that's 4 shots right there. If it is, that's actually relatively nice. And then 2 over here. So, I mean, it seemed like the 50 grain during that shooting session, but then over here, yeah, that's just not very good at all. 2, 4, 6, so much bigger group. When I went to the 30 grain VMAX, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's a pretty big group. A little tighter group over here, except, well, there's one up here. I'm not sure if that was from this shooting session or this shooting session. I would assume this one. So yeah, that 30 grain, I think it's just too light for that pistol. So what have I concluded here? Well, I've concluded I don't shoot that pistol very well. You know, it's a great revolver, and I like it a lot. You know, at shorter distances, and that may be what it is. You know, a revolver like that with the shorter barrel, if you're shooting 22 and you're staying maybe 10 yards or so, I could probably drift these over a little bit more. I mean, this group right here isn't too bad. It's almost on my point of aim, but not quite. And of course, if you're using snake shot or something of that, then it's not going to be as much of an issue. My problem is that you cannot drift those sights. There's nothing you can do about that. Some people might file their front sight a little bit one way or the other to try to drift their point of impact. There's nothing you can do about the rear sight in that revolver. So I will say, as much as I love that Colt, I will probably end up carrying my Ruger single six a little bit more. The single six convertible, I bought one with the just over 4-inch barrel, because it does have adjustable sights. And once I find a ammunition that it groups well, then I can just drift the sights to get my point of aim on target with that particular ammunition. And with this Colt, as pretty as it is, I don't know. I don't know if I could take it to a gunsmith and tell him to mess with the barrel to try to get it on point, but you know, A, I don't know if that's a possibility, and B, I'm not sure that's something I would want to do. So some food for thought, But my test here was to see if it shot 22 Magnum versus 22 long rifle better. I would say, even though it did shoot one group of, one set of the 40 grain Winchester Super X well, it tended to group the 22 long rifle a little better than the 22 Magnum. Not the results I wanted. Obviously, I wish I had hit a little bit better. But in the end, that's why I do these tests. I want to see where my pistols are hitting, what ammo they do well with, and how well I shoot them. And unfortunately today, well, I did not shoot this one very well. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Take care, stay safe, and I will see you in the next one.